Hello and welcome to Raj Sabha Television. I am Akhilesh Suman and you are watching Special Reports. In this episode of Special Report, we are in China and in the Guizhou province of China. Our visit to China was part of India-China media exchange programs, also based on understanding reached between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping to increase people-to-people contacts. And in a way, this was an exposure visit to our biggest northern neighbor. I was not having any movie or still camera, but in the next half an hour, I will show you through my mobile camera those parts of China that Chinese officials say are backward region of their country. There is no doubt that language is a big barrier in China for a foreign journalist, either strategically or by design or lack of English language. They keep the language restrained to Mandarin most of the times.
30 minutes. It doesn't mean much, but here it means a lot.
Very few people speak English in this region. Even shopkeepers too are at loss of words. But still, you feel connected. Visuals show a lot. Their infrastructure speaks loud, and humility and warmth of the hosts make you feel at ease. We began the journey of Guizhou by crossing over this bridge. This is the bridge at the Baling River, one of the biggest bridges in the world, a suspension bridge made of steel and pillars. The bridge that connects two mountains is an engineering marvel actually, and they claim everything is Chinese. From labor to mine, everything is Chinese. We are passing through Baling Bridge of China. This is considered to be one of the most famous bridges in the world, and it is said that China could have made smaller bridges also, but in order to show to the world that it can make big bridges, it has made this Baling Bridge, and the whole world now understands and now recognizes that China has one of the best expertise in making bridges in difficult situations. Wow! The cloudy mountains, the greenery galore, and the serene environment make us elated. A journey amidst beautiful surroundings through the giant bridge is an experience of lifetime. People come here to see the bridge from a distance and don't forget to click pictures either individually or in the group. The bridge that spans the Baling River Valley was open to public traffic on December 23, 2009. They say that the bridge was constructed in just 4.5 years. This bridge is actually a part of Shanghai Kunming Expressway between Kunming and Guiuang. This reduced the travel time across the river valley from 1 hour to 4 minutes. The largest suspension between two pillars is 3,570 feet out of its total length of 7,339 feet. It is also one of the world's highest bridges with 1,210 feet of clearance above the river.
Most of them are Chinese engineering because the property rights belong to our country, belong to
But
China.
you might have got the help of some others.
有没有其他外国工程师的帮助？
过来帮忙的。
没有的，这个
No.
While there are many facets associated with this bridge, with a view to showcase the endeavor, a museum has been established nearby by the Chinese authority. The museum gives us a complete understanding of the efforts made by the Chinese people in creation of this iconic structure. In the museum, they also give you an idea on how difficult it was to make this bridge. Another surprise came to us in Guizhou, Guiuang Waterfalls. We don't even remember how many steps we took up and down to reach the waterfall, but what was impressive was the pathway to reach there. So clean and well maintained. It's a long walk, more than 1 hour. No vehicle, just a walk and walk. But on the way, you will find many wall posts, beautiful stopovers, wooden carvings, and wooden path bridges with a smooth railings. In a country of more than 1 billion active populations, the success of maintenance cannot just be attributed to the government, but credit also must go to the people who travel there. And you should not just be surprised. Most of the tourists here are domestic, and believe me, they behave properly with their tourist spots. Located near Anshan city, the Guangzhou Waterfalls is world's one of the most famous waterfalls. The Guangzhou Waterfalls is a conglomeration of 18 big and smaller ones. Our next stop was a UNESCO World Natural Heritage Site. This is also part of Guizhou province of China and located in Libo County. Since the ecology is vulnerable, we cannot go by normal petrol or diesel vans. We mixed battery operated cars and walk on foot to visit there. And finally, when we reached there, we could understand why this ordinary looking very old bridge of 7 holes is so important in China. It is scenic beauty? No, not just scenic beauty. It's a story of human struggle for love. And that is why this bridge is also called Loyalty Bridge. The story runs like that.
Actually, it's about love. We call it love story. Actually, in ancient time in China, they were a couple. They actually wanted to cross a river. At that moment, there wasn't the bridge, the 7 small holes bridge. So there was no way for them to cross the river. But at that moment, there were 7 fairies who helped them build the bridge. But there was one condition here. If you two want to cross the bridge, for each minute, you would become older a little. So actually, as you can see, there are 7 holes down there. And then when the couple cross the bridge, then they will become older and stay forever. Which means this bridge has another name, called Loyalty Bridge.
And now it's time to depart from love to cosmos, from human being to celestial being. Yes, right. China has made this huge radio telescope, the biggest single disc radio telescope in the world. And this is so important possession of China that even mobiles are not allowed here. We were told that mobile signals might impact negatively the navigation process of the telescope rays up to celestial objects. Indeed, this was a disappointment, but with an intent to establish our location, we were allowed to click our photo from a film-based old steel camera. This 400-meter aperture spherical radio telescope that is called FAST in its abbreviated form was constructed in almost 5 years in a remote area of Guizhou province. The city it is situated in is called Pingtang. This is in south-central China. It was built in a 45 million year old crater that makes it unlikely to be affected by flooding and makes it isolated from human interference. The FAST, the world's largest telescope, was unveiled by China in September 2016. It will help in the international research for understanding more on origin of universe and the Big Bang. And now we move towards China's new hotspot in Guizhou province, the big data industry in the city of Guiuang. This is the most upcoming city of China. Weather fantastic and refreshing, temperature below 20 degrees Celsius all the time, green cover and no pollution make this city an ideal place for software and data storage in a country that is facing emission of the most of the world carbon to meet its development goals.
The word big, and this big word is related to big data. China is developing Guiyang city as one of the major centers of big data storing center and big data collecting center, and it seems that it is being developed on the lines of Shanghai. Shanghai is different because Shanghai has been contributing to industrial development of China, but Guiyang is, it seems, being developed as a non-polluting industrial center of China, and big data is going to be one of the major components of this whole industrial endeavor of China. And you can see this whole area in the center of big data storing, and there are so many companies, there are so many institutions are coming here, and they want that institutions from all over the world come here, they invest their technical understanding, technical knowledge, and they can store their data. And it will depend on how they negotiate that who will own the data, who will regulate the data, and who will have access to the data. But it is understandable that it is being developed on the lines of Silicon Valley of America in that one way or another.
Foreign companies like Apple, Foxconn, IBM have already established their shops here for data storage, even though discussion and negotiation over a scope of transparency with the government is still undergoing. The domestic companies like Alibaba and Lenovo are also establishing their data storage facilities here. And the most important part, that it is being known as India-China IT Corridor. India's NASSCOM and NIIT are working close to Chinese big data industries. India's ambassador to China, Gautam Bambawale, had said in May 2018 that India and China were looking at marrying together the requirements of Chinese companies with the capacities of Indian IT service providers. And this is the best case scenario to be adored by both governments of India and also the Indian private companies. Enormity of this cooperation will also fill the gap of trade deficit that is today in favor of China. While moving through the Guizhou province, the idea kept hammering my mind. The most modern expressways, roadways, roadside management, and host of tunnels, one after another tunnels, show the Chinese willingness to catch up with the world. And it is catching up very fast, faster than imagined. The infrastructure that China is creating is real and gigantic. 25,000 Indian IT professionals are currently in China already providing their services. With Guiuang data industry development, the presence of India in China may also go up. I can just hope it may be able to reduce the sense of hostility and increase the eagerness to learn from each other. So indeed it was an interesting visit to China, and one of the provinces that is considered to be one of the most backward areas of China, and what we saw was against and in contradiction to what we were told that this is backward. We could not comprehend that such type of province can be backward with such an infrastructure. Mr. Sun Iliang, the diplomat of Chinese embassy in India, we were surprised to hear that Guizhou is one of the most backward provinces of China, but it looked like one of the that developed areas of the country. So how will you tell that it is a backward region?
Actually, in the past, Guizhou is not an economically advanced province of the country, because it is mainly a mountainous area. Mountains cover almost 90 to 93% of its whole territory. And because of the backward transportation, people sort of were stuck there, and economic development was hindered. And even in 2017, the GDP of Guizhou ranks only 25th in China among 31 provinces.
But what is the situation now?
Situation now is much better. At least in terms of speed, in the past 4 years, Guizhou is leading the country in terms of GDP growth rate, double digit. I can only say it's double digit, maybe 15%, sometimes 10%.
But what will you tell the reason of this fast development? Because what I heard that it is a development of last 10 years or so. So how do you think that how it could develop like that?
I think on the one hand, it's because the central government gives priority in developing the western regions of the country. Guizhou is in southwestern part of China. It belongs to this category, and the central government gives a lot of importance to help alleviate poverty in that province, which also has a relatively large population that is below the poverty line.
So it is a part of policy of China to develop one area in a big way so that it can have an infrastructure of world standard?
Because you see in China is so large. In the beginning of the reform and opening up, we focus the resource of the whole country on the coastal areas, to make them, because they are better positioned, they are more suitable for export. But after that, they have the sort of responsibility to turn back and help the underdeveloped regions. I think this is one of the institutional advantages of China.
But how do you create things so fast? Because that we were all surprised to see that how you can create such a big infrastructure in such a small period of time.
I think for one thing, it is because you see, after many years of fast development, especially starting in Shenzhen, the special economic zone, maybe you have heard about the Shenzhen speed, which means speed means everything, efficiency means money, means profit. So I think the Chinese people, the workforce, are accustomed to making things faster. They can work in shifts. They can work long hours a day. That is a habit of the Chinese people. For another, it's because of the large investment, input of resources.
So when we were traveling, we could not find such a big crowd. Unlike Indian, Indian roads are always crowded. You go anywhere, it is full of crowd. China's population being even more than India, it did not look like that people are there everywhere. So what is the planning in this?
I think if you are talking about Guizhou, I think Yes, indeed, it is not crowded because Guizhou itself has a relatively smaller population. And also it is mainly mountainous areas. And the places we visit, like the Guiuang new district, it is mainly constructed in the past few years. Still, some of the departments are still to be occupied by but they were, as far as I know, they were sold out. Only the residents have not moved in.
Okay.
If you go to some other, like central China, like Beijing and Shanghai, you will see a familiar scene of traffic jam and this kind of things.
Okay. So one of the most interesting thing in our visit was high concentration of big data, institutions. So what is your planning about big data?
Actually, of course, there were programs, there were policies to fast track the development of big data. But in terms of Guizhou, I think they pick up big data as their future. One is because big data is the new front line in science and technology in this information age. For another, it's because Guizhou enjoys very unique geographical advantages and weather resources. You know, its karst formation, the geographical formation with a lot of mountains, makes it the perfect position for big companies to store their data, to build up their data centers, to place the servers. And I have checked online, the annual temperature, average temperature is 27 degrees Celsius. It's an ideal place to store the servers. And also, another thing is that this province has long, before it was a poor province, it doesn't have a very solid, heavy industrial infrastructure or the basis.
Okay.
So choosing big data, which is a more ecologically clean, sustainable industry, is the smart choice.
So this big data will work for Chinese industries, Chinese data only, or it will be center of big data from any other countries in the world?
I think in today's world, the whole world is connected.
Yeah.
And for the big data industry to really flourish in Guizhou, it has to remain open to the world.
Okay.
You know, during our trip, our host has told us that like big companies like Apple, even Amazon, have their data centers, their data storage facilities there.
Okay.
And also India, you know, NIIT and the Guizhou government, they have jointly build up a platform for training engineers.
Oh, right. But what is my question? That if I am an Indian company, can I store my data in Guizhou, Guiuang?
Of course, you know, even Apple can store and it is doing so, their data in Guiyang. And actually, if more foreign companies will store their data in this place, the Guizhou will only gain from it. They have nothing to lose from it.
So can they feel that that data is secure, it is not leaking, something like that?
You know, China has very complete system of data security laws.
Okay.
So they can be sure that their data will be in good hands.
Okay. So right, you were telling about NIIT and NASCOM are trying and they have signed MOU also.
Yes.
So in what way India and China can cooperate in this big data industry?
I think for a starter, you know, India has a large army of engineers, IT, software experts. And for another, China has a big market. China has a great demand for software service, especially e-commerce and also smart infrastructure. So I think from the beginning, maybe we can cooperate in terms of training talents, because for a new industry like big data, talent means everything. If you have the experts, you have the know-how, you can develop.
So do you want Indian IT professionals to go there and train them, or vice versa?
I think at the end of the day, it has to be agreed between the Indian side and the Guizhou provincial government. But according to the information we learned during the trip, I think they will be very flexible to any form of cooperation as long as it serves both sides.
So do you want Indian IT professionals to go there, stay there, give training to the people and work there? What is the plan?
I think the plan, the specific plan, can only be learned from the local government. I'm in no position to know their plan. Maybe some policies in the process, but I believe in the long run, the exchange of engineers and IT software experts, it will be a new normal. Because let me tell you something, in a city, in Linyi city of Shandong province, that's in the eastern part of China, there is an Indian IT park, high-tech park. There are like several hundred Indian IT software engineers. They have their Hindu temple. They have their Hindu food restaurant. So this is one of the examples. Maybe in the future we can see similar scene in Guizhou.
So you give a long-term visa to professionals?
Of course, if they, I don't know the details, but if they are working there in the park, definitely they are holding the work visa for that.
So let's move on something more on India-China cooperation, because you know that India and China is the biggest neighbors any two countries in the world can have, and they have the biggest population also in the world. So what is the scope of further cooperation? Because you know we have almost 90 billion or so trade between the two countries, but as far as the cooperation in basically in infrastructure sector is concerned, is there any hiccup in the cooperation?
Well, you see, China-India relations is a long-standing one, and it is sort of multifaceted. There are highlights, and there are also, you know, not so pleasant things. But on the whole, starting from this year, especially after the Wuhan informal summit, China-India relations is going up. Yeah, it's warming up. It's getting better and better. So as for the scope of cooperation, I think as to the biggest developing countries with a combined population of around 2.6 billion, only the sky is the limit for our cooperation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Guiuang. It was really nice meeting you and
it's
traveling with you in China, one of the provinces that we liked it, and the province is like northeastern province of India, and the way you have developed, I think that Indians will
it's a pleasure. You are most welcome.
So this was all in this report, and we talked diplomacy, beyond diplomacy, and we also tried to show that what is common between India and China, and how commonness and bonhomie as well as cooperation can be developed between the two countries, so that we can both serve the world in a better way, create peace and tranquility as well as development all over. Akhilesh, Suman for Rajya Sabha Television.